What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about some music theory, and we're going to dive into the functional harmony basics. And basically, I want to cover three terms that you might or might not be familiar with if you are classically trained or have music theory backgrounds. And that is called tonic, subdominant, and dominant. So we're going to talk about the different functions of each of those terms, what they kind of mean in context of music, and go from there. But before we do that, I want to give you my music theory fundamentals guide in case you're interested in more of an overview of music theory. It's totally free, and it basically combines a lot of the stuff that we talk about in classical music theory classes, but in a more interesting way. I think music theory can be dry to a lot of people, so I wanted to give you the foundations of music theory in a more kind of digestible, easy to understand guide. And it will save you a lot of time, I think, than just buying textbooks and just reading through them and trying to understand a whole mess. But it's totally free if you want to check it out in the description box below. Just click the link there and it will take you straight there as my thank you for watching this video. So let's kind of dive into these three terms. First of all, you'll notice that there are kind of Roman numerals here in the picture, right? And I really like this graphic because I think it describes the relationship between these words very perfectly. So in music, the word tonic actually means the resolution point. Like, where does music feel the most resolved and the most comfortable? And in most cases, the tonic is the one or the first chord of a scale or the first note of a scale. So if I play a C major scale, for example, the C is considered the tonic because everything basically will come back to C. So if I play and I don't finish the scale, you kind of want to feel that resolution down back to the C, right? C is literally the tonic note. And you can see that there's also this 6 and the 3 Roman numeral here as well. So these kind of serve tonic functions within the harmony as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But in the most basic form, tonic is considered the first note of the scale. Then dominant, which is also very important, is the most tension-filled chord or scale degree within a scale, within a key. So dominant usually refers to the 5 chord. So in the key of C major, that would be G. So if the C chord is the tonic chord, then the G chord is the dominant chord. And it usually really wants to go back to the 1 chord, the tonic chord there. And you can see the 7 there is also part of the dominant group, which we'll go over as well. Finally, the subdominant, you can probably guess what it refers to. It's actually the 4th degree, 4th chord of the scale, because subdominant, right, under the dominant. So dominant is 5, subdominant is 4, and you can see that right there. So the subdominant usually leads into the dominant, which then resolves back to the tonic, right? So usually if you start with the 1, then you can go to the 4, then go to the 5, then go back to the 1. So it's a nice circle, 1, 4, 5, 1, which sounds like 1, 4, 5, 1, Now, you can kind of interchange some of these, right? So instead of going from 1 to 4, you could even go from 1 to 2, or you could even go straight to the dominant chord. That also works too. But generally, you would go kind of counterclockwise. So if I go 1, 2, 5, 6. Let's see how that sounds. 1, 2, 5, 6. That sounds pretty nice, right? And it's still kind of following that circular motion. But essentially, whenever you start from the tonic and end on the tonic, you're going to have a resolved kind of feeling to your music. So I really like that. Yeah, that's essentially the very, very basis of functional harmony. So each of these chords within a scale, so if we look at the key of C major, each chord has a specific function, right? So 1 is the tonic chord, 2 is considered a subdominant chord or has a subdominant function because it really wants to go to 5 or really wants to go to 4, go to 7, right? The 3 chord is kind of considered a tonic function, right? It has kind of a resolved sound to it, whereas the 4 is subdominant, the 5 is dominant, 6 has a tonic function. So usually after the 5, you can go up to the 6, or 5 can go also to the 3, right? And then the 7 chord is very tension-filled. You can hear that's a diminished chord, and that feels very depressing in a way, or very up in the air, and that can also resolve up to the tonic. Now, because the 7 chord is so strong in terms of the flavor, we usually don't hear it on its own in pop music or mainstream music. We usually hear it as the 5 chord, but as a dominant 7, because the 7 chord in C major is B diminished, right? But these 3 notes also belong in the G7 chord, you know? So if you literally just put the 5 chord and the 7 chord together, you get a dominant 7, which makes the resolution back to the 1 chord much stronger, actually, compared to just having the straight 5 to 1. So just interesting to note these different chord functions. But as long as you can kind of think about it in this manner, where, whatever chord progression you're doing, just think of it as going from a tonic function to a subdominant function to a dominant function, then back to a tonic function chord. You're going to be pretty set. You can't really go wrong if you follow that sort of formula. Now, that's not to say you can't go the other way. You could also go, tonic, dominant, subdominant to tonic, but it's just not as common, or it's not as classically strong, let's say, as going the other way around. Ultimately, though, chord progressions and harmony are all based on instincts, like what you feel sounds good to you. And so I would definitely encourage you to just try it out and have fun with it. There's nothing wrong with coming up with something that goes completely against the book. Music is all about having fun and just enjoying yourself. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about that. I really appreciate you watching. And of course, if you want to dive a little further into the music theory basics, I want to give you that music theory fundamentals guide. It's totally free. Just click the link at the box below. It'll talk all about like scales and chords and functional harmony and reading music a little bit and all that stuff. And it's all categorized together in a very kind of neat and digestible way. So I want to give that to you and put that in your hands in case you don't have it already. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next video and take care. Bye-bye.